Thank you, Anand. Thank you so much. Very warm welcome to all of you. Our partner and His Excellency Mr. Ye Shunong could not join us because of an urgency, but he's represented by a representative from Chinese Embassy. So very warm welcome to you. His Excellency Suchit, thank you very much for joining us today. Mr. Badbatar Bathu, Head of Green Finance Policy Division from the Ministry of Economy and Development, Mongolia. Very welcome to you, sir. Mr. Nimit Nepatu Mukul, I hope I pronounce it correctly, from the Innovation Development Manager, Innovation Business Promotion Department, National Innovation Agency of Thailand. And last but not least, we have Ms. Kelly Hattel, Senior Financial Sector Specialist, Asian Development Bank. So, colleagues, let me start by first again warmly welcome you all of you to this side event and the first segment in a way of a regional workshop. Many of you will be joining us later today in the regional roundtable, I think starting at 3 today as well. This one focuses on strategies for strengthening green project pipelines in emerging markets. I would like to extend my sincere gratitude to our co-hosts for their collaboration in organizing this event. The Securities and Exchange Regulator of Cambodia, the Ministry of Economy and Development of Mongolia, the Mongolian Sustainable Finance Association, and the National Innovation Agency of Thailand. I also wish to thank the Government of China for generously funding in supporting our efforts. Across emerging markets, the challenge of securing sufficient financing persists across the board. In terms of pursuing effectively the Sustainable Development Goals and climate ambitions. I won't go in the details of the financing gap and the numbers. I'm sure all of us are familiar. It's sufficient to say the gaps are huge. These challenges are particularly acute in developing and emerging markets where policy, regulatory, and capacity gaps, alongside some constraints in the private sector, continue to impede the development of viable, bankable projects. It was in response to these challenges that ESCAP, through extensive consultations with governments in the region, launched the Climate Invest initiative. The Climate Invest began just 2 years ago with a focused mission, which is simply to strengthen the enabling environment for green finance by identifying and addressing the systemic barriers to financing climate-aligned projects. The initiative supports the development of project pipelines that are attractive to both public and private investors, and thus helping bridge the gap between climate ambition and implementation. So in partnership with Ernst & Young, whose representatives are also present here with us today, comprehensive surveys, key informant interviews, and detailed deal side analysis have been conducted in Cambodia, Mongolia, and Thailand. These efforts and engagements have provided an in-depth assessment of green project financing opportunities, the key barriers, and main policy considerations, examining perspectives from both the banking institutions and investors. The findings have revealed both common cross-country barriers as well as distinct national challenges. Specific to Cambodia, Mongolia, and Thailand, the three countries of focus in our work. So let me share very briefly the 3 salient findings. Number 1, there is a clear and urgent need to bridge the gap between policy ambition and policy ambition and project execution. Our analysis revealed that ambitious climate targets are often undermined by insufficiently robust implementation strategies. Many countries in the region face challenges such as delayed timelines for net zero targets, insufficiently detailed plans for sustainable finance ecosystems, and significant reliance on external funding sources. Addressing these gaps require stronger policy coherence, clear and actionable roadmaps, and targeted support mechanisms to accelerate sustainable practices across countries. Number 2, strengthening local capacity across financial institutions, government agencies, and the private sector are needed to effectively mobilize green finance. Our research points to significant gaps in technical expertise, particularly when it comes to assessing the environmental and financial risks of green projects, which undermines their ability to structure, evaluate, and finance the projects effectively. Targeted training programs and incentives to enhance the technical skills within financial institutions and government bodies are needed. Additionally, fostering stronger synergies between the public and private sector, as we are trying to facilitate here today, can also help align policy frameworks, investment strategies, and financing mechanisms more effectively. Number three, expanding financing tools beyond traditional instruments is also pivotal to unlock new avenues for green projects. Our studies identify innovative financing mechanisms such as green bonds and loans, blended finance structures, and green asset-backed securities as some examples of viable options to diversify the financial portfolio. Such tools attract private investment while lowering investment risks. Leveraging such tools can help increase the overall supply of climate finance, allowing capital to flow more readily towards green project pipelines, enabling a more dynamic and scalable financing ecosystem. So let us use today's dialogue to move from diagnosing the challenges to identifying practical and actionable solutions, which can be developed in countries across the region. I look forward to a productive discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Hamza. I would now request Mr. Zhiwei Liu, the Deputy Permanent Representative to ESCAP from the People's Republic of China, to share his address.
Okay, thank you. Dear colleagues, it's my honor to join you here at the side event on the strategy for strengthening green project pipelines in emerging market. As highlighted by Ms. Armida Anshakbana, Executive Secretary of ESCAP, in her policy statement at the annual session earlier this week, the climate change is our most defining challenge nowadays. And climate finance is channel that channels through investable and bankable green project that would be essential in addressing this challenge. In this regard, we are pleased to have supported the Climate Invest Initiative of the ESCAP under the China ESCAP cooperation program as part of China's broader commitment to advancing sustainable development. And we are delighted to see the initiative has produced practical insights into how countries in the region can better develop green project pipelines. We look forward to hearing the findings and, more importantly, the perspective of participating countries of the project and stakeholders on how these recommendations can be translated into concrete actions. I'd like to thank the co-organizer of the event, the Securities and Exchange Regulator of Cambodia, the Ministry of Economy and Development of Mongolia, the Mongolian Sustainable Finance Association, and the National Innovation Agency of Thailand. I also want to recognize these governments' commitment in taking forward some of the policy actions which have been identified, and I look forward to further progress on this front. We hope the Climate Invest platform continue to facilitate practical cooperation and help build resilient, low-carbon economies across the region. And China stands ready to share its knowledge, experience, and good practice with participating countries and support capacity-building initiatives that help bridge the gap between our aspiration and implementation. Let's work together to turn ideas into investment-ready solutions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jivelu. We hope indeed that this session will turn challenges to solutions and ideas to investment-ready projects. With that, I am very pleased to hand over the session to our moderator and our colleague, Ms. Diana Morris, Economic Affairs Officers, Financing for Development, ESCAP. Diana, you have the floor.
Some technology challenges here with the microphones. Thank you very much, Anant, and thank you, Mr. Jiwei Liu and Hamza, for your opening remarks and inspiring words as well on project pipelines in the future that we can look forward to. Before we start, I would like to just start by a very short presentation highlighting some of the key findings that we do have from the Climate Invest project, followed by the panel discussion. In terms of where we started this initiative, we already knew a few things. First, there's a huge financing gap. It's $5.8 to $5.9 trillion for developing countries, excluding China, in meeting their climate goals. And governments in these countries can't finance this gap alone. The private sector financing also is critical. So right now, the reality is that many green projects face major bankability issues. Investors hesitate because of many challenges, but I'll just highlight three key issues. One is the risk-return match. Projects don't always align with investor needs. Two is the high cost of financing in emerging markets. And three is a lack of structured investment-ready, investable projects ready for private capital. So really the pipelines that need to be there. So what's happening is that projects aren't getting the funding that they need, and investors aren't finding the right projects to invest in. And what's the solution to this? There's a few different things. One is de-risking of investments, so projects that can align better with investor expectations, building bankable pipelines so that more projects are structured for the investment themselves, and improving policies and enabling environments for private capital to have a clear path to scale up. So at ESCAP, we've been working on this with 3 different countries, Cambodia, Mongolia, and Thailand, and we have them here today. And our objective has really been to assist governments in developing policies and financing instruments to catalyze investment. And to do this, as a first step, we undertook analysis, as Hamza was mentioning, on the investment side, on the investor side, and also the banking sector, and looking at developing targeted recommendations to support green project readiness and investment, both from the public and the private sector. So in the next phase of this project, we do aim to work directly with governments based on these recommendations and work with key stakeholders as well to translate these recommendations into policies to generate climate finance deals. Each of these countries has faced very unique challenges, and they all have their own unique set of recommendations. But just in the next 2 slides, I'll quickly highlight some of the trends and opportunities that we've seen in the countries that are common across the countries. So as all of them are very unique, we did find a common set of challenges faced. The first being the financing gap. I mentioned that already in my first slide with the 5.8 trillion, in Cambodia, 7.8 billion, Mongolia, 11.5 billion, and Thailand, 150 to $200 billion to finance their NDCs. And NDCs are your nationally determined contributions. This is what you've set out to achieve in the Paris Agreement. And I will say that these numbers are an underestimate because right now our NDCs, if you achieve them 100%, they're still not on track to meet the 1.5-degree goal. So this is a very big underestimate of what financing is actually needed here. Also, in terms of where is the funding flowing, energy and transport is a major area where the funds are flowing, very important sectors. But critical sectors like agriculture, water, waste management receive less than 10% of total financing, which is a major barrier to climate resilience. Other issues include the NDCs aren't costed. This is a major challenge when NDCs don't provide clear estimates of how much investment is required, and this creates both demand and supply side challenges. Another issue is even when there is financing available, policies and regulatory barriers still exist and prevent investment. So in some of the countries, we've seen policies aren't fully aligned with the investment needs. Others, we've seen that there's no net zero target set, and it can create mixed signals for investors for long-term planning and commitments. And here you need to have taxonomies, financing strategies, sector targets as some solutions. And finally, we've seen a huge opportunity in the development of innovative financing instruments. De-risking mechanisms like guarantees, concessional finance need to be scaled up. So in terms of common opportunities, what we've seen is we've done this at a sector-based level. Common opportunities we're seeing in agriculture, renewable energies, and transport. Agriculture countries are focused on climate-resilient crops, effective water use, and sustainable livestock. Renewables, we're seeing growing investor interest in energy efficiency and grid integration. Transport, we're seeing priorities in electric vehicles, public transit, and green logistics. And real estate, we're seeing green buildings, energy efficient housing. And a good example of that is actually Cambodia, which had Golden Tree launched a bond last year, showing real momentum in that space of green real estate. So I'm not going to go through any examples here. I want to go to the panel discussion, but I will just close this with three, I would say, common recommendations across the countries that we've seen. Again, as I mentioned, we have very specific recommendations in each of the reports, but common areas that we saw were policy and coherence and coordination. So establishing national climate finance screening mechanisms is one opportunity. Expanding financing for adaptation projects in sectors like agriculture, flood protection, and water resource management, another area. And also sustainable finance architecture, so promoting instruments like green bonds, green loans, fiscal incentives, as well as the infrastructure that supports that, like climate-related disclosure reporting. And then capacity building, so strengthening technical and institutional capacities of governments and regulators, and also the private sector to identify pipelines of NDC-aligned projects that can be financed. So I'll stop there, and I hope that this does give you kind of an overview of some of the common challenges that we've seen. And of course, each one of these countries is very unique and in their own particular challenges. So we'll now meet the speakers and dive into some of their stories and their best practices that they've seen in the different countries. I'll first start by introducing His Excellency Sosuchit. He's the delegate of the Royal Government of Cambodia in charge of the Director General of the Securities Exchange Regulator of Cambodia. And he plays a key role in shaping Cambodia's financial sector with extensive experience in financial policy, securities market development, and economic governance. Thank you very much for being here. Next, I'll introduce Mr. Batbatar Bakku, acting head of the Green Finance Policy Division at Mongolia's Ministry of Economy and Development. And he has nearly a decade of experience in climate and green policy work, and he's helping to integrate sustainability into Mongolia's national economic planning. Next, we have Dr. Nimit Nipatam Makun, Innovative Development Manager at Thailand's National Innovation Agency, and he supports SMEs and drives innovation in sectors like renewable energy and UAV, so drone technology, which is quite cool. And he also brings deep technical expertise and strong focus on aligning innovation with market needs. And next, we have Ms. Kelly Haddle, Senior Finance Sector Specialist at ADB, and she's leading innovative financing programs across Southeast Asia. She's based in Thailand, and she works on inclusive and sustainable finance initiatives in Cambodia, Vietnam, and Philippines, and has deep expertise in digital finance and green finance systems. So we have an excellent panel of experts here to discuss with us today. And I'm going to dive right in with the first question to Excellency Sosuchit. ESCAP and SERC, just by way of background, I think maybe in the meantime, can we get a microphone over here? Because it seems like some of the microphones aren't working. But in the meantime, I'll introduce the question and a little bit of background on this. The whole side, I think, is off. Yeah, but we'll start with the question. ESCAP and SERC, we've been working together on identifying policies and opportunities and mechanisms for raising capital for green and sustainable finance. And this collaboration has really led to tangible results through something that we call the Sustainable Bond Accelerator, which we've launched a few years ago in Cambodia. And we recently had a $50 million green issuance, which marks, I think, a very important step for capital markets in Cambodia. So I want to ask you, Excellency, from your perspective as a regulator, what enabling policies or regulatory measures are most critical to further accelerate the flow of sustainable finance, particularly towards the opportunity sectors, which is what we call it in the report. So these are sustainable transport, agriculture, energy. And drawing on your own experience, what opportunities do you see to introduce new incentives, strengthen disclosures or impact reporting, or build institutional capacity to make project pipelines ready? So it's a long question, but I think you have a very good answer prepared.
Thank you very much, Dana, for the question. I just want to start by say thank you very much to ESCAP for inviting me here in this very important session, and thank you so much for so far the collaboration that we have done so far between SERC and ESCAP. So from the question, I think that we have two main questions. First, start from the policy and also measure that we have been taken so far related to this sustainable finance flow. And second question related to the disclosure and also some kind of reporting impacts that we have done in Cambodia. So to start with the first question, I think that I need to back to you by two main points. One is what we have done so far, and second point is what we do next. So Cambodia is smallest market in the region, we could say that. We just start the market in 2012. We have the first issuance of share in Cambodia, only one company in that time. And, during that time, as we have only one company, and that is also the exciting, issuance in Cambodia, so that we have so many investors at that time. We have investor more than what we have to say. But after that, when we have the second one, third one, we have less investor. So for a regulator, we know that that is the challenge for the small market like Cambodia. We have not much do what we call the capacity building awareness, and we have not much talking with the investor to raise their understanding about the market. To do the trading in the market is not the same as they do the trading in the normal market that you see. So that's why I start from that experience as ERC start to do a lot of awareness, raise a lot of initiative. We work with the development partner like ADB. I want to stress that the Cambodia market starting with the support from ADB side. We start with just only some framework that we work with ADB, and we put in place the market, and step by step until now we have 24 companies that listed on our exchange. And come to regulator to think whether if we need to wait until that the market getting mature or not to start the thematic product like green bond, sustainable bond, or we could start at the same time. So that is the question that very challenging for us as regulator. How we put in place? We start to talk with our expert from ADB and from the other development partner. And so the first thing that we put in place to start this journey of sustainable finance is we put in place the clear guideline and the product that we want and convince the company to start. So we have the support from ADB at that time to have what we call the green guideline on the for the issuer in Cambodia. And we have this guideline that align with the ASEAN Green Guideline. That's why we start to have the first issuance of green building in Cambodia. That is the first thing that we have done. The second thing that we have done is we select the company and we go to support the issuer. With the small market like Cambodia, without the support to the issuer, we could not make things happen. That's why we saying to ESCAP that we start the program together that we call the Bond Accelerator program. With this program, we could select the main issuer and support them to start. So we had the first issuance in 2024. We have the second issuance just right now during this month for the second, but we have also another two in the pipeline to finalize our program. But we expect that we could have also the third program one we do with UNESCAP. The third thing that we do in the market is we intensify to the issuer. The issuer could get the incentive from government. That is the support from government in terms of tax incentive. But we have also the non-tax incentive that we work with our development partner. So for the issuer that they go on the program with us, they could get, what we call the subsidy in terms of third-party verifier if they issue the green or sustainable bond according to the program that we do together. And I just want to, to highlight that with the collaboration, we also provide the confidence to the investor. Investor, why they have the confidence? Because with the program, the investor see that we have the group of, supporting like with the development partner, but not only that, we have also the guarantor that go into support. We have also in our market, we have the ecosystem in place. We have also the rating agency that have been in place. So with all this kind of support, we gain the confidence from the investor. That's why we could make happen in Cambodia, first one, second one, and I believe that we could finalize the third one and the fourth one. The last one that we have been so far put in our market is the program that we raised from my office, from SERC, to do the awareness, to do the capacity building, not only to the regulator ourselves, but to the stakeholder, issuer, investor in Cambodia. So that is what we have done so far. But what we need to do next, that is very important. We understand that to make this market more smoothly and to make this sustainable capital market, we need to have the clear policy. That's why right now we are under the process to do the green taxonomy in Cambodia. SERC is the member of the working group to initiate this with the Central Bank of Cambodia, and hopefully that in next 1 year we could have this kind of document have been adopted in Cambodia. Second one, we also require and work with ADB again in terms of how to do, because to finalize this journey in terms of sustainable finance, we need to have the clear roadmap. So that's why we discuss a lot with ADB team how we could elaborate the sustainability finance roadmap in Cambodia. That is the second point that we need to do next. And the third point, I think that we need also to think about the transition finance and including the credit carbon market. That is the long run that we want to do. I think that the time we run out, so I will back to the second question related to the question that you raised about the strengthening the disclosure and impact reporting. We understand that it's really important for the market. That's why SERC have adopted one regulation in terms of ESG disclosure. And this regulation will come into inactive because right now it's a voluntary base, but in next 2 years, in 2027, we start to mandate this duty to the issuer. And we also work with also the regulator that is the standard setter in Cambodia that we need to follow also the IFRS S1 and S2. But in the long run, that we project that we need to work on that. So in short, to unlock more capital and deepen market participation, we must strengthen also the ecosystem, both the supply and the demand side. And I think that the best way that we could do this is collaboration. I always believe in kind of collaboration. Working alone is not the best way to gain the confidence from the investor. Working together is much appreciated, and investor provide all the confidence to the market. So I think that that is the point that I could back to you right now. But is there some more? I will. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Excellency, for your remarks. And I think you highlighted two very interesting points. I mean, one is the early stage that the Cambodian market is in and the progress that you've made from 2014, I think you said, to having one company to now 24 companies on the exchange, which is a huge accomplishment. And you're not just seeing issuances, you're seeing green issuances and a variety of kind of more innovative products and guaranteed bonds and things like that that are starting on the exchange. And then the other thing that you mentioned is on the ESG mandates that will be coming with S1, S2 guidance, which I think is pretty consistent with what we're seeing across the board. And it's great to see Cambodia taking a step forward on that front as well. I want to move to our next speaker from Mongolia, Mr. Batbatar Bakatu, head of green finance in the Ministry of Economy and Development. And your green finance policy division is actually, it's a new division. It was just recently established. And I think this shows a really significant institutional step forward to mainstreaming green finance across national policy and planning agenda in Mongolia. So I wanted to ask you, our report, the Climate Invest Report, underscored the importance of strong policy coherence, clearly defined investment pipelines, and enhanced capacity to mobilize green finance. I think also all the things that Excellency also just mentioned. Can you share how your division is helping to coordinate these efforts, and how do you see it contributing to the development of investable green project pipelines and the creation of enabling conditions?
So, good afternoon. Thank you, Diana, for the question. And thank you, Mr. Hamza and Mr. Liu for the opening speech. So, yes, to answer to the question, it is crucial step, crucial institutional progress in terms of mainstreaming green finance to policy and planning. So, because the Ministry of Economy and Development, one of those general ministries in Mongolia out of 16 ministries. So, in terms of that, generally the Ministry of Economy and Development is responsible for development of long-term policy, including the main direction for the terms of 5 years to develop Mongolia, and also the government action plan and state's annual development plan, etc. So also it is in charge of enforcement and implementation of those policy documents. So it is crucial. It is actually easy to say that it is a crucial institutional step forward. So, but actually I have to say that there is a department in the Ministry of Environment and former Ministry of Environment and Tourism of Mongolia, which was in charge of implementation or coordination of the green development policy, which was approved in 2014, and in enforcement up until 2021. It means the approval of Vision 2050, Mongolian long-term development policy document. So it is actually the crucial step. The division contributing to the policy and planning by its responsibilities, like defining green projects and develop relevant laws and legal framework, and implement a set of measures to attract green finance. So the report clearly highlights that there is a lack of concrete policies, regulations, and incentives in the field of green finance, of course. So even Mongolia's investment policy lacks alignment with the green finance principles, right? So green finance policy division is one of division under the integrated investment policy and coordination department of the MAD, fully aware of those recommendations reflected in the report. So we as a division focusing on 3 to 4 main activities which will be implemented up until by end of second quarter of 2025. So firstly, we would like to get approved law on climate change. So actually the draft law has been developed at the Ministry of Environment and Climate Change since 2020s. So the MAD decided to collaborate on the development of the law in order to legalize the term green finance and its incentives, instruments, and also the general criteria for the green projects. So the newly established cabinet after the parliament election 2024 get approved this action plan. So in the action plan, there is roughly just over 150 development projects were reflected. So out of 150 development projects, we consider 29 projects as a green project. So it is important to reflect the general criteria for selecting green projects of the draft law. Secondly, we are planning to develop national green finance strategy, which is also reflected in the draft law, in order to support mid and long-term policy documents by attracting finance and mobilizing capital to those the policy and projects. And finally, but not least, we are focusing on the implementation of the readiness proposal, which was approved 2 weeks ago by the board of GCF, which is mainly focused on the development of some necessary systems, which is more related to carbon market. So in terms of the policy documents, we need to focus on the reflection of the systems like registry, inventory, and also MRV, the third-party verification. Those are the important step for Mongolian government of Mongolia. You know, actually, the government of Mongolia is working on this the agreement between 2 countries, South Korea and Singapore, by for the agreement between the government and the carbon market, especially the Paris under the Paris Agreement. We need to sign those countries. The last one is the government of Mongolia is working on the proposal to start the partnership action on green economy with the page United Nations, which is implemented, which is initiative, crucial initiative by the UN and being implemented by the specialized 5 agencies of the UN, right? So Mongolia is actually one of the first member countries for implementing first page activities between 2013 and 2018. So those are the activities, the division, and the new, even if the newly established division, we are working on those the main activities to contribute efforts.
Thank you very much. I think you raised a few important points. You have already identified 150 projects, of which 29 you're able to tag as green. So this is, I think, a very good first step. And then also the legislation of climate and green policies into law. It really sets a precedent and shows the market, where you're planning on going and gives an indication to investors as well. And then the market fundamentals of building MRV systems, which will be fundamental building block for actually making sure that that law is actually implemented and in place. So I think this is a very good example. I'll move now to Dr. Kun Nimit from Thailand National Innovation Agency. And Thailand, in Thailand, we've partnered with the National Innovation Agency, and we've been particularly looking at a different segment. So we talked about capital markets, we talked about more of the Ministry of Economy Planning. With Ministry of Innovation, we're looking at climate tech solutions. And Kun Nimit, can you tell us and share how the National Innovation Agency is identifying and supporting early stage climate tech solutions that can evolve into bankable green projects, and what methodologies or tools have proven effective in building those project pipelines?
Thank you, Diana, and thank you, ESCAP, for the chain. Give us the chain for join this project too. Okay, I would like to introduce National Innovation Agency, or NA briefly. Okay, NA is a government group in Ministry of Higher Education, Science, Research, and Innovation. We have a new and innovative business goal. Our mission is lead Thailand to innovation nation in both of the improvement and initiation to promote economic restructuring and competitive enhancement, and it focus at the focal conductor by the mission to grow in mechanism, grow grant, growth, and global. Grow we support the innovation knowledge to the student, researcher, also SME, small, medium enterprise, and also in the large enterprise and government officer. The grant, we support the financial source to entrepreneurs who want to develop and expand their innovation to the market through various connect supportive mechanisms. The third one is growth mechanism. We creating growth for Thai innovation business through sectoral acceleration program. And the last one, global. We expand Thai innovation business to global market by creating international corporate networks. Okay. For the first one, we have program to find promise idea. For example, we have startup lead in the growth mechanism. which is the competitive to find new startups in different areas, including climate tech too. We also have special program to help these startup grow. These are called incubation and expansion program. Incubation program, we help early stage startup develop their ideas and create a product prototype. We give them advice, training, and sometimes money to get start their business. Expansion program for startup that's a bit more developed. We help them grow their business, find more funding and research more customers. For the especially the expansion program, we have a climate tech expansion program that's designed for climate tech to provide the solution, technology, and also service to their customer. Okay, the climate tech startup, we support startup with an environmental and climate solution. We help them connect with the partner, government, group, and investor. We also help test their product in the market. Our goal is to help this climate tech startup grow and become successful business that can help Thailand that can help Thailand with climate change. The program can separate in 3 parts. The first one, we need to create the demand side in the market. So we have to educate SME, small medium enterprise, large enterprise, or entrepreneur that make the green project. They try to transform their business to green business, but they don't have knowledge and they don't know how they get benefit from the green project. We need to educate they to learn that. At the same time, we have to develop the startup to support the business. We building tech service solution provider to support the business to transform business to green business. And the last one, we combine the first step and second step together and implement the green project to their business too.
Thank you so much. I think it demonstrates a very practical way of moving forward, and also similar to what we were doing in Cambodia too. You know, you're testing a strategy, hand-holding, providing that support, and then also providing some financing to make that clean tech product come off. And I'll mention here, for those of you who are joining the session later this afternoon at 3 p.m., we're taking some of the climate tech startup solutions. It's called Move Me. It's an electric tuk-tuk to get to our next venue. So you'll be able to experience this firsthand in our next session on the way there. So thank you very much, Kun Nimit. And I will move actually to Ms. Kelly Haddle from ADB. You know, as we all know, ADB has been a key player in supporting sustainable finance in the region. Kun, our Excellency has demonstrated this through your strong partnership already. And this is not only through direct investment, but also through policy-based lending, which has been a powerful tool to support dynamic systemic changes in meeting countries' development goals. So in this context, can you tell us how ADB's policy-based lending is operating and how it's being leveraged to help governments establish and enabling conditions such as regulatory reforms or incentive structures and needed to unlock sustainable financing at scale?
Great, thank you, Deanna, and thank you, ESCAP colleagues and other panelists. It's a pleasure to be here, Your Excellency. So I've been at ADB 14 years, and the modality that I'm most familiar with is a policy-based lending modality. So I definitely feel versed to speak on this topic. Honestly, when I first joined, I didn't fully appreciate the structure of the policy-based loan, because what it is it's financial support that goes to Ministry of Economy and Finance or Ministry of Finance. It's budget support. So that money is lent to government. And what we do is we structure a policy-based lending program. We take a programmatic approach. So in the case of Cambodia, which is the most topical, we have normally 3 sub-programs. So we have sub-program 1, sub-program 2, sub-program 3. And for example, right now we are in designing the first sub-program of the policy-based loan for sustainable finance, financial sector development in Cambodia. That would be, often it's between $50 and $100 million that we give to government for budget support, either only from ADB or we bring in co-financing partners. That's for sub-program 1, normally covers 2 years. And then we have sub-program 2, the next 2 years, and sub-program 3. But what's interesting for sub-program 1, they are for prior actions. So we're in the process of identifying policy reforms that Cambodia has achieved as of the cutoff date for sub-program 1, which will be around this July. So we recognize prior action. And that took me a while to understand how we're providing a loan for policy actions that have already been achieved. But the rationale is that it shows government commitment. It shows momentum, a direction of reforms. So when we go to identify reforms for sub-program 2, they build on the progress of or achievements of sub-program 1, and the same for sub-program 3. And what it does is it provides a framework for recognizing achievements and basically documenting, institutionalizing the progression of reforms. And so that's where we can help put it into a framework that makes sense, sequential reforms. So you asked how we leverage this support. So it's regulatory reforms. We help develop the framework. Incentive structures, of course, that comes in if we have any other additional loan modalities that complement. So we have financial intermediation loans as well that can come in and provide direct support to financial institutions if it's around sustainability lending, or we embed incentives into the policy reform framework. Capacity building. And this is where I think the partnerships are so critical, because we have technical assistance to help with those reforms, be it sub-program 1, because we've been working with Cambodia and doing policy-based lending for decades. So we have a long history of support. And so we're building on even previous reforms. But for sub-program 1, so we have technical assistance, but we have limited support. So we have to work with other partners. And that's where with ESCAP, we're working on sustainability frameworks, on capacity development for sustainability bonds. We just had a workshop, I think 2-3 weeks ago, and there were third-party verifiers that were part of the workshop, investors, Ministry of Economy and Finance, Securities Exchange Commission, and also the National Bank of Cambodia. So different stakeholders, so capacity development, taxonomies. A lot of work we're doing is around cross-sector reforms and frameworks. So that's where stakeholder engagement, I think that through the policy-based lending approach, we have a unique opportunity to bring together stakeholders and facilitate dialogue among different types of stakeholders, be it Securities Exchange Commission and National Bank of Cambodia. Right now, we have a training that we're doing on digital assets. And we're bringing together the Securities Exchange Commission, National Bank of Cambodia, Ministry of Justice, because on the risk side, we need to make sure that other stakeholders are involved in that discussion, Ministry of Commerce and Ministry of Interior. So we're doing that training, and it's bringing together stakeholders. So that's how, from ADB's perspective, we also have to recognize, I think, important point before I conclude is we're only reflecting these are government achievements. We're helping to pull them together, pull them out, helping to advise and strengthen. But whatever policy-based loan we have, it reflects achievements of government, a commitment of government. And it's also recognizing Cambodia's commitment to national targets and regional targets and global targets. And so that's where I think working all together, we derive so much value from the partnership with you and ESCAP because of the global, global nature of the work that you do. And I think it really helps to create a robust policy framework and achievable, achievable targets.
Thank you so much, Kelly. And I think you brought up so many important points. One is the incentive. I know from working with different governments for so long, it takes 2 to 3 years to get a real policy developed on the ground, rolled out. And this framework that you use is really an incentive to see that through and make sure that it is impactful on the ground. Also, cross-government engagement. This is one of the biggest challenges, and something that's mentioned in the report too is, you have NDC sitting with the Ministry of Environment. Ministry of Finance is not necessarily engaged in that. Ensuring that cross-governmental approach for national strategies, national targets is incredibly important, and I think very much seen through ADB's work. So a huge congratulations to you as well on the success of this in the region, in Cambodia and other countries as well. I know that there are many people online as well. I think we have over 60 people online, and we have a lot of people in the room too. And I know you probably have a lot of questions, but we are running out of time. So what I will tell you is we do have another session at 3 o'clock, which Anant will give some logistics in a little bit on that. But we will have networking after this as well. So please, save your questions, network. And I will hand it over now to our Chief of Financing for Development, Ms. Subha Sivakumaran, for her closing remarks.
Thanks, Deanna, and I will only take a couple of minutes to wrap up. Firstly, I want to thank our distinguished panelists here. I want to thank our Deputy PR from the Embassy of China, Mr. Lu Shuwei, and I want to thank all the participants for being in the discussion today. What we've heard today, green project pipelines are really the interface between green finance and what happens in the real economy. We've heard that certain sectors have difficulty in attracting finance. Agriculture has always been notoriously difficult to finance on a commercial scale. We know there's a changing geopolitical situation. It may mean new supply chains in green industries that need to be created. That has an implication on future CapEx, on future cost structures, and cash flow and profits. Tariffs and uncertainty further reduce investor confidence. It presents long-term investment challenges, especially when they're most needed in green project pipelines and green and industrial development. Even so, we know that the green transformation across Asia Pacific cannot be stopped. It will continue. We heard from Mr. Baku about the draft climate change law, which is going to be hopefully passed through in Mongolia. That will have implications for the real economy, for carbon markets, for industry. We heard from His Excellency, Mr. Sochet, the policy coherence that is actually remarkably in place in Cambodia to develop a sustainable real economy that is matched to both capital markets and the banking sector. And we also have heard from Mr. Nimitz, the importance of creating new technology, new green technology in waste, in energy, in mobility, and that the demand for green projects, the capacity and knowledge also need to be in place. From ADB and Ms. Hattel, we heard the transformations of policy-based lending and how this can be an effective tool, and especially, again, how policy is so important. So to conclude, we all know that FFD4, the fourth international conference, is coming up. Part of what is in the draft outcome is already to establish country platforms and hopefully country project pipelines. I hope that it will be there in the final outcome. And that it's not possible to develop a large pipeline of green projects without both a favorable real economy as well as the finance sector. So I will pass over to Anand for details on our next event, but I very much hope to see all of you there. And once again, let me thank everybody for their participation.
Thank you, Subha. And on behalf of ESCAP and all our partners, we would like to thank each and one of you for your presence and contributions today. Before we conclude, two important QRs coming up on your screen. I would request the participants to please take 2 minutes of your time to scan this QR and provide your feedback for the workshop. And as Diana and Subha mentioned, we would also like to extend an invitation to our next session, the Regional Roundtable on Investing in Sustainable Project Pipelines in Emerging Markets. The roundtable will also be followed by a networking reception at a very serene and peaceful Rivan Kalaya Hotel. It starts at 3 p.m. The hotel venue is 600 meters from the office. And we, as mentioned by Kundamit from NIA and Diana, that we have procured the services of MoveMe, a startup that was launched to address the issues of traffic congestion and pollution in urban areas. You would see, just as you exit the escalator on the first floor, two beautiful electric tuk-tuks, a modern take on the traditional Thai icon, part in front of the gate. They will start running from 2 p.m. all the way till 3 p.m. In order to benefit from the refreshments that are available before the session, we would request our participants to move me and move yourself around 2:15 and 2:30. And we start the event at 3. Myself, our colleagues Kun Prani and Kun Pachara are also here to guide you to the tuk-tuks, and we hope to see you there. And for those who wish to find their own way there, this is the location of the venue. Again, it's just 600 meters from the UNCC building. Thank you once again.
Thank you. Very wonderful. Yeah, yeah.